While in the military, did you ever witness anything paranormal or supernatural?
Where to begin? I'll tell my favorite story. In 2006, I was with the 31st MEU in Okinawa. They had just built a new headquarters building and were going to be moving into it the next week. I was the duty clerk at the old building that night. This building was a long rectangle with the entrance midway down one of the long sides. Right in front of the entrance, there was a desk for the duty clerk facing the door and a couch to the left of the desk. Right of the Marine sitting at the desk, and a hall going right and left, leading to the offices so the clerk could lean back in their chair and see the whole length of the building. And there's a fence around the whole building with only one gate right in front that is in sight of the duty clerk desk. Yes, the layout is important. Anyway, the day goes by, I'm answering the phone, checking people into the building, normal stuff. 16:30 arrives and everyone starts heading home. Around 2200, the SNCO and duty driver went to get some sleep. Another hour or so passed and all was quiet. Around 2300-ish, I heard footsteps down the hall to my left. I leaned back but saw nothing. Figuring it was the MEU Sergeant Major who had been living in his office due to a big fight with his wife, heading to the head, I just shrugged it off. Then I heard the footsteps to my right. I knew there was only 4 people in that building, 2 sleeping in little rooms right by my desk, the Sergeant Maj on the other end of the building, and myself. I kept hearing the steps, first on one side, then on the other. I started getting creeped out, so I stepped right outside the door to have a cigarette. During normal business hours, the smoke pit was behind the building, but since I had to be able to hear the phone, I had to stay right there. Right as I light my cigarette, I see 2 figures come around the side of the building, outside the fence. Startled me, but it was only 2 of the camp guard, one of whom was my buddy, doing their rounds. I told them about the footsteps, and they did a check of the other entrances to the building to make sure they were secured for me. Remember, I couldn't leave the desk area, and then hung out for a few minutes chatting. As they were leaving, the one I hadn't met before joked, "If you hear the footsteps again, ask the ghost to keep you company because maybe he's bored too." About 10 minutes after they left, I heard the footsteps again to my left. I called down the hall, "If you're just going to walk around, come over here and hang out for a bit. I'm bored out of my mind." I kid you not, the footsteps passed behind me and went to the couch I mentioned before stopping, and an indent appeared on the couch cushion like someone had just sat down. Figuring I'd make the best of this weird situation, I said, "Well, thank you. And how are you this beautiful night?" No response, but after about half an hour, the indentation disappeared, and I didn't hear the footsteps again that night. I never did duty at that building again. The next day, they began moving the contents of the offices over to the new building, which had its own stories to tell, most notably hearing voices on the intercom after everyone left for the night. It was not pleasant to be doing the hourly walkthrough and suddenly hear a voice I knew was not the SNCO on duty coming from the intercom. At first, I thought it was a wireless transmission from a radio or something, but the system was not set up to receive wireless transmissions. It was an entirely wire-based system. The worst was the night I was in the duty office and heard, "I need help here, he's dying," coming from one of the offices. We didn't have a way to tell which office a transmission came from. If someone needed something, they had to identify who they were, so I ran to do a check of every office on every floor. There was no one in the building. Sergeant Maj had moved into the base motel,